Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's Time for Coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java Junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career triple shot K-Cup with my guest, Travis Mitchell. I reached out to you, Travis, to do this interview today, specifically because of that other disease, the disease of racism that has been festering sometimes overtly and sometimes under the surface here in the United States. And we are doing this interview now on June 18th, the day before Juneteenth, and it's in the midst of the nationwide Black Lives Matter demonstrations that are going on in support of defunding the police as a means to achieve more accountability against police brutality in this country. And Travis, as I mentioned to you before we started this interview, I've been reading a lot of posts on LinkedIn, and one you wrote recently really stopped me in my tracks. And you began the post this way: I am a 49-year-old African-American media executive. And you and I just discussed you turned 50 yesterday, so happy belated birthday. But when you wrote this, you were 49. And you said, I have used LinkedIn as a platform to grow a very diverse professional network. But today I want to share my truth. If all lives matter, why can't I breathe? Travis, could you please share with our young listeners why you can't breathe?
Thank you for giving me this platform to express my feelings on the subject matter. And I will say to you and to your listeners that my professional journey has been one of holding my breath for decades, because you want to make sure that the feelings and the experiences that you've had don't derail your opportunities for upward mobility. I've always been a fighter for justice, but the experiences of the last several weeks reminded me that George Floyd could have been me. And here's why. I have had experiences where right after getting my license at 16 up to my 49th birthday, or my 50th birthday yesterday, I have been profiled racially by police officers. I have been pulled over more than 25 times for driving in luxury cars or vehicles that they appeared to believe that only drug dealers could have. I have been in a situation where, at the advanced age that I am now, in terms of, certainly I'm older than my teenage years, where simply walking with another 50-plus-year-old African-American with gray hairs in a community that we live in, work in, and shop in, I have been surrounded by 4 police officers during an early morning walk who have brandished weapons and asked us what we were doing, understanding full well that if I took out my black Samsung phone with an OtterBox, that it could be misinterpreted as a gun. So at those moments, you think, I need to get home to my family. And so you learn how to survive. I have been stopped on a highway headed to South Georgia, going through South Carolina to pick up my 7-year-old daughter from her aunt and uncle's house in a very isolated stretch of I-85, when a police officer stopped me because I was driving a rental car and suggested that rental cars had been the carriers of drugs through the I-85 corridor. And so he asked me if I was carrying drugs, and searched through my car. I have experienced being pulled over when test driving a luxury vehicle in my hometown area of Raleigh, Cary, North Carolina area, the Raleigh-Durham area. And having the salesman in the passenger seat with the dealer tags and on the back of the car, only to be stopped by a police officer, only assigned to that park to come up to the passenger side with his hand on his gun and to ask the salesman if everything were all right, as if I stole the car, and then suffered through the indignity of him saying that the dealer tag was on the wrong side of the car, and he gives me a ticket as opposed to the dealer. So I have been in situations where had it turned out just a bit differently, it would be me with a knee on his neck and not being able to return home to my family. And so the George Floyd situation caused me to have a moment of truth where I thought it was important for people who may assume that because I had had a level or measure of professional success, that I was somehow different from George Floyd. But my American story is every much as a part of his life experience as anything else. And so I share with those who have been accosted by police officers the pain, the agony, and at sometimes the shame of being treated with a level of disrespect and lack of dignity, and yet still having to navigate life to provide for your family and to do your professional best at work. This builds up a level of frustration and anger on the inside that has to be released. Otherwise, you will explode. Thus, the reason for me quoting Langston Hughes's brilliant piece, where he asked the question, what happens to a dream deferred? Fortunately for me, I've been able to accomplish many of the things that I've wanted to accomplish, but it's always been because there are others who have paid a price for me to be able to have access to opportunity. And at this age of 50, I want to make sure that my daughter and her generation, she's a first year freshman student at Morgan State University, my alma mater. I want to make sure that by sharing my truth, it can shine a light on the fact that this is not an isolated incident with George Floyd, but this is something that we face on a consistent basis in the African American community that has to be dealt with and rooted out of our system.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.